Hello, and welcome to the Women Who Code podcast. My name is Noelle Notermann. I'm your guest host today. I am a senior engineer working at a large retailer in the US, and I'm so delighted to talk with Ayu Adiati. Ayu is going to talk to us today about the power of communities for self-taught developers. Ayu herself is a self-taught web developer, a prolific tech blogger, an open source contributor and community enthusiast. She's based now in the Netherlands and is the proud mom of a 6-year-old. She's also the documentation lead and an advisor at the virtual coffee community. And she's a member of Women Who Code Global and Women Who Code Front End. Welcome, Ayu. Thanks for joining us.
And thank you for having me, Noelle.
Yeah, I'm so excited to talk with you. I mentioned before we got started that we have a lot in common. I am a mom who codes as well, who had
Oh,
learned
nice.
during that challenging sort of toddler and pre-toddler time. And so I know we'll talk a little bit about that. Is there anything else for your introduction that you wanted to share with us, more about your origin or background?
Okay, so I think I'm going to talk a little bit about the background why I learned web development. I started when my daughter was about 2 years old, and I wanted to write a blog about everything about life because I originally from Indonesia and then I moved here to the Netherlands after I got married. So I want to, talk about my life here with my toddler at that time. And also I have a photography hobby and I want to showcase my photos as personal documentation, to be honest. So I started to browse about WordPress, and then at one point, I was still browsing, and then I talked to one of my friend, and she said, "Well, if you want to, write your blog or showcase your pictures, why don't you build your own website?" I said, like, "Huh?" And she said, "Why don't you learn web development?" I didn't have any idea what web development meant, so I started to browse about web development, and then I stumbled upon the free code camp at that time. So I tried it out. And then when I saw, the hello world with the HTML renders, and I was like, so exciting. So it was the first time ever. And then because I'm more like an audiovisual person, so I start with the Udemy and also some courses as well on YouTube. And that was the first time, and I never looked back since then.
That's really great. I love that you have sort of a non-technical background, so to speak. You mentioned photography a little bit. I come from a classical music background, so an entirely different world as well. And I'm making up an answer in my head, but I want to hear you talk about it. I'm wondering about this connection between photography and sort of your artistic eye that I imagine that you have, and how you ended up a front end developer, which in my brain those connect, but I'm curious if that seemed sort of a connection for you as well.
Yeah, because I'm more of a visual person, right? But when I learned JavaScript, I didn't understand for loop, while loop, whatsoever, because I couldn't see it. And I didn't know at that time what this for. So I had a hard time to understand those things. And then actually I started to learn back end before front end.
Okay.
So I learned a little bit about Node.js, and I started to get that click with all the things that the vanilla JavaScript has. I started to like back end at that time. And then I started to learn when I started to learn more and more. And one of my friends said, like, hey, you better start looking for the job demand in your area. And I was looking at the job demand in my area because I was learning Node.js, and it was Java, PHP, and .NET. No Node.js. And I was like, okay. So I started to learn front end. And because I'm also a visual person, it started to get to click. but yeah, because I learned the backend before, so I understand like how things work, like for the the loops and stuff, all the complicated for the newbie things. So it makes me easier to learn front end.
Sure. That's great. So you
Yeah.
have really a full view, but then sort of smartly, very smartly figured out where demand was and what your specialty could be to kind of meet that demand. I
Yeah.
think that's great, very wise.
Well, yeah. Thanks to my friend. Otherwise, I would stuck and then like, oh no, I have to get back. Because
Right.
I didn't want to lose the momentum. I mean, like I could learn like switch if I wanted to stay on the back end. I could switch like learn whatever on demand, but then it will take me like back to zero, right? And I already learned JavaScript, so I just continue with that because like the front end demand in the Netherlands is React or Vue. So
Mhm. Mhm. What were some of the challenges that you faced maybe early on or just as you were learning to become a developer?
the challenges as a self-taught developer is the challenges like real. It's a real deal. Oh, how do you say it? But I mean, like, especially because I was with the 2 years old, right?
Mhm.
So it was hard for me to make that time to learn. So I usually like squeeze some time during her nap time or late at night, like after 10 until 12, 1 o'clock at night. So in a day, let's say that I can squeeze like 1 to 2 hours, normally, sometimes free. So, and also like a self-taught developer. As a self-taught developer, you don't have anyone to ask.
Mhm.
When you have questions or you have frustration, you don't have anyone to share with. Even if you have some wins, like, oh, finally my code works, you cannot say to anyone, right? So
Except your 2-year-old.
yeah, yeah, I was coded with her on my lap. So
Sure. I have distinct memories of trying to code while having an infant doing other things,
yeah,
trying to put an
yeah.
infant on the table while I kind of code.
Yeah. Did you learn also when your kid was like
Yeah,
so?
this is we want to hear about you, Ayu, but I'll share. So the one reason I
Mhm.
was really fascinated in your topic is because I actually did choose a boot camp for myself,
Ah,
for the kind of accountability piece of it, which I know
yes.
we'll talk about a little bit more.
Mhm.
But that had its own challenges. I had my son was 3 months old when I started the boot camp.
Okay.
And so yeah, it had its own challenges again, maybe for a
Yeah.
different podcast, but that's
Yeah.
why I'm so inspired by your story and so fascinated to hear how you, and maybe that will be my next question. You mentioned trying to work in those off hours and during nap times and during night
Yes.
times
Mm-hmm.
and with a small child, and that's so exhausting. How did you stay motivated and how did you stay accountable, which to me are kind of two different things, right? Like, how did you
Mm-hmm.
keep the energy for the journey? And then how did you check in if you got off the journey a little bit? So maybe two different
Mm-hmm.
questions, motivated and accountable.
Yeah. So the motivation is usually when I understand a new concept, right? And then I can use it in some places. Um, that's when my motivation can go on,
Hmm.
right? So for motivation, it was well, I had to motivate myself, but most of the time it worked at that time. But accountability, yes, that was the problem. Like I don't sometimes when I have like a hard time or something, there was no one to say, okay, come on, you can do it,
Right. Or you have a
and
deadline, right? In a book,
yes.
you have this deadline. Oh, shoot. You don't really have that if
Mhm,
you're doing it on your own.
mhm. Yeah, exactly. Everything on my pace, but because like everything on my pace, so I have to keep that pace.
Mhm.
Otherwise, then I would just stuck. And that was like the biggest obstacles actually for a self-taught developer. But yeah, it's it was really hard to juggle between the kids and the house chores and also learning because it's really exhausting, right? Like from morning until night, you are busy with your kid, and then at night you have to make some time to learn. And after a while, I got frustrated, and that was like the first time I used my Twitter after I had it for almost 10 years. I had it because it was like so high, but I didn't know how to use it. I didn't know like yeah, because I was so I was more like an Instagram or Facebook person at that time because more like of the photos, right? And yeah, I thought I rented on my Twitter. I asked like, has anyone have experience like to juggling with kids and house chores and everything with learning web development? I thought, okay, after I rented, I will like delete my Twitter forever.
I mean, you just kind of you cried out into the void, right? You
Yes,
just kinda threw it
yeah,
out into the world, like,
yeah,
okay, okay.
yeah. But then the next day, to my surprise, like I had like lots of reactions on my tweet, and mostly from moms. And one of them was actually the founder of Turtle Coffee, Becca. She was also learning at that time, and she said, "Hey, why don't you join Moms Can Code?" And I was like, "Okay." And at the time, I didn't know like the meaning of community, to be honest. But when I heard about Moms Can Code, I thought, okay, so these are moms who learn to code. So I think that I can try, you know. So I'm in, and then that was the first time I found my community, and it was a US based community, so there were not many people in European time zone. There were a few of us, but finally we had like this study group. We learned different stacks, but we hold ourselves accountable. So it's like every day we meet up like for half until 1 hour, and then learn together, you know, with the Pomodoro timer. And then
Great.
after we learn, and then we talk about what we learn and what we struggle from. I couldn't ask about my struggle because we were working on different stacks, but that accountability that make me, you know, like sit and learn together, that was huge motivator for me. So yeah, finally I wasn't alone.
Yeah, what a powerful story, right? Starting with having the courage to put that out in the world, right? Having the courage to
Yes.
say, I'm stuck, I'm
Yeah.
frustrated. Has anybody
Yes.
else felt this way, right? And then that
Yeah.
courage sort of came back with these responses, and you say, oh, I'm not
Yeah.
alone. And more than
Yeah.
that, there was a group.
Yes.
That's so
Exactly.
beautiful. I think so many self-taught developers or those who are trying to learn
Mhm.
um, maybe are scared to put that out there, maybe,
Yeah.
and I think that's such a wonderful example to say, yeah, I just put it out there. I thought I would delete my account after
Yeah.
that,
Yeah. Exactly. Because
and
I was
yet
like,
here
hey,
was
I
this
literally rent it. So
that's so great. Thanks for sharing that story. I think that will be inspiring to a lot of other people to say, hey, you don't have to
thank
be
you.
stuck. You
Yeah.
mentioned another great technique that I didn't want to let slip by. So
Mhm.
you put the call out, you found this community
Mhm.
that was sort of based maybe situationally, right? Other
Yes.
moms.
Mhm.
I know there are other groups like that as well, but you found this sort of situational, relational group that
Mhm.
will kind of be a support and a motivator for you as well, and accountability, even though you were learning different stacks and things like that.
Yes.
And then you mentioned that you did study groups together, even
Yes.
sort of that accountability of studying together. Then you mentioned the
Yeah.
Pomodoro technique, which
Yeah.
can you talk a little bit more about it? I'm familiar with it, but maybe our listeners aren't. I think it's a great technique for anyone, whether they're learning or on the job.
Yes.
So can you talk about it a little bit?
Yes. So Pomodoro time is when you do whatever you do, learning or you're doing your job or anything. So you set up like 30 minutes, 20 minutes of doing your thing, and then 5 minutes of break. And then you do it again for the next round. And then the third round, you can have like longer, a little bit longer break, like 15 minutes. And that's how it goes for the Pomodoro.
Yeah.
And because we had such a small time when I was in the study group. So it's about half hour to 1 hour. So we only had like mostly one or two pomodoros. So
Sure.
we work on, you know, like we mute, and then we work on whatever we do. And then 25 minutes later, hey, we unmute and then we start to, popcorn. What you do today? What you do today? Do you have like any blockers or anything like that? Even though no one maybe can answer, but by like talking about, hey, I have this blockers because this code doesn't work and blah 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 blah, and it's more like I felt like it's like what do you say, the rubber ducking,
Oh yeah,
and then
sure.
finally you're like, oh, yeah, what didn't work because of you know so in the next session you can work on it.
Yeah, that's great. I think it's a great
Yeah.
technique. And I sometimes, it's called time boxing as well, is kind of the term that I had learned for it, just to say, here is the box of time, 25 minutes, 30 minutes, whatever that box is. I'm going to work on it for that time. And then I'm going to step away from it and take
Yes.
that break or check in with someone else. And as a learning developer, this was huge for me because I was one of those people that would not ask for help. And I would spend an hour, 4 hours, 10 hours,
Yes.
3 days, boxes of
Yes.
tissues crying before I would finally ask for help. And so this was what a mentor said to me: set a timer. And when you have worked for that time, focus during that time and then step away and sort of reassess. And so I think it's a really great technique.
Yeah,
And
the break time is really important, right? I mean, like when we're into something and it's not working, all we want to do is like, why? And then we just keep going. But actually, like we're pressing our brain to work harder. And finally, we couldn't see like the simple thing in front of our eyes. So, yeah.
the power of taking those breaks.
Mm-hmm.
So you joined Moms Can Code and that
Yes.
was in 2020? Is that when you started?
2019.
2019. Okay.
Mm-hmm.
And do you still connect with them at all now, or have you moved on to other groups now?
I moved on to other groups. I'm still having like contact with the Moms Can
Sure.
Code, my study group. But the community itself is already, it's no longer there. So yeah.
Oh, okay.
Mhm.
Okay. So what are the groups that you've been active with now?
So on 2020, like the COVID hits, right? That was when Becca at that time, she tweeted about like, hey, do you want to join like a virtual coffee chat? Because like many developers like lose their jobs and it was like a hard time for everyone, really, like the whole world. So I didn't actually join like the first Zoom meetings, but then because after a month, I think that they started to doing the Zoom and stuff, and the virtual coffee had a Slack, and that's when I joined the Slack.
Okay.
And that was when finally I joined the virtual coffee, and I actually, I don't know if you believe me or not, but I'm a shy and introvert person.
Okay. I will believe you. Yes.
Okay. But when on one-on-one like this, and maybe because it's you, Noel, like the sphere is like really friendly and stuff. So I feel like I'm more like relaxed and so that's why I talk a lot. But that's the reason why I didn't say anything for a while, because like my first community was Moms Can Code, so it was like for moms and women, right? And this community now you have like of course male developers and stuff. So and I was still in the beginning of my learning. I mean, like with 1 and 2 hours a day, I didn't, like my progress was like a tiny bit of progress. So I considered myself like very newbie when I joined the virtual coffee. So I thought, when I heard people like, oh, I'm a developer in this company, oh, I'm a senior developer in this company, I was like, oh my God, who am I? you know.
Sure.
So yeah, so I didn't even dare to say hi.
I can relate. I can totally relate. And there should be a different podcast called The Power of Lurking because
Oh,
well,
this is the first time I heard about that. I should take a note.
for me, I felt exactly the same way. As someone would say, "Oh, there's this Discord channel that's really excellent," or this Slack group, or even my local. I'm in Minnesota in the Twin Cities, so my Women Who Code local chapter, and I would join. but I didn't have the confidence to write anything.
Yes.
And I certainly didn't have the confidence to post, my blocker or things like that. And I so admire people who do, but just by presenting in those communities, just by joining, I saw other people's challenges. I saw messages about events. I saw recommendations for great online courses, all sorts of things. And it really just by lurking. And there are plenty of spaces where I still lurk.
Yeah.
Kind of do get you get part of that community because you realize you're not alone. You may still get some great ideas. And then eventually you can. I am much more likely to send a DM, a personal message to someone who posts something than I am to put something out. That's just who I am. And I've made lots of connections that way. So I think there is power in lurking.
Yeah.
Kind of hanging out. And again, it's just taking those first steps in the way that you are comfortable.
Exactly.
With much gratitude to the people who do really post things out there, because so I think I'm not alone. Many of us learn.
No, definitely not.
So yeah, I think that, community, to me, part of community, just the idea of the word and the definition is finding what you need and building what you need, right? And you talked about that for you. You needed a certain type of motivation, a certain type of accountability. Maybe connecting with other moms was key for you. For me, maybe it was regional, so being in this area, connecting people who are near me. Sure. I mean, community is not, well, maybe this is your answer, but community is not one size fits all, right? It's finding what you need or making what you need. And maybe you can talk a little bit more about that. I won't talk.
No, I love to hear you talk. No, seriously. I mean, well, not gonna lie, like most people try to find community for that support system, right?
Right.
For accountability buddies, for I don't know, networking, they say. Even though I don't really like that word finally, but at first people would do networking, right, to know and be friends with other developers. So I mean, as what you say, I think that you already said it all, that the community is like the place for you to build, and actually also like to explore who you are. Before I joined community, I didn't know what I know. Let's say, I always think that I know nothing, right? But with the community, I had like some pair programming as well. If I didn't understand something, and then I asked for some guidance from the community members, and then someone reach out to me. Okay, I can help you out with that, and then we talk about it, and most of the time they said, you actually understand, but maybe you're a little bit struggle with this part, so maybe you can work on that part. So at first, like, I didn't know anything, but actually I know at least something, if not many of things. So community also built confidence, and I feel that by joining the communities, now I start to know that I can write, and that I know more than I thought. So the community really, really make me more confident and be a better person and developer than I used to when I was still self-taught, like really alone. I'm still self-taught, but now with the community around me.
I love that engaging with the community gave you a way to measure your learning.
Yes.
It's kind of that's what I'm hearing you say. Like, you were doing the courses or following along or trying things, but then pair programming and talking to others, you were able to kind of gauge it better and measure it better, because you're right. If you're just doing it on your own, you may swing one way or the other. You may think, I know everything.
Yeah.
you've never had to test it or try it. You're just following, a YouTube tutorial.
Yes.
Or you may
Yeah.
think, I know nothing because it feels so vast and there's so much out there. And so I love that. Yeah, being in community, doing some pair programming kind of gave you tools to measure and gauge
Yes.
sort of how you were doing. That's fabulous. Okay.
Yes. Yes.
You mentioned the dreaded networking, the dreaded networking. And
Yes.
I agree with you. I think it's probably most people's least favorite word, unless they are a network engineer, and then they might take this
Yeah.
personally.
Yeah.
But networking, it feels cold and it feels kind of calculating. Like
Yes.
I'm gonna pick you and make friends with you so that I can get something from
Yeah.
you. And
Yeah.
it just doesn't feel very
Yeah.
humane. It doesn't feel very kind.
Yeah.
But it happens nonetheless. And you said in some notes here, it's more about making friends. It's not about,
Exactly.
transactional, what can I get and what can you get? So can you talk about how community can help sort of build friends or things that are not quite networking?
Yeah. Well, first of all, I want to say that you need to, mm, as I talked about before, like I was a lurker, right? Like I don't have that confidence to even say hi and things like that. But actually, if you join a community, the first thing is the key is that you have to, like push yourself a little bit out of your comfort zone and at least introduce yourself,
Mm,
you know, by introducing yourselves, then the community will be aware for, oh, there's a new member and her name is Ayu. And so, hi, Ayu, right? And when people say, hi, Ayu, and I feel so warm, like, oh, people are welcoming me, even though there's just like an icon or something,
sure.
I feel like people looking at me, like people aware that I'm new there, and that I just arrived here, hello, So that's one step that actually people should make. Because I heard also people say that I join a community, but I don't get anything from the community I'm in and things like that. So first thing that I ask, have you introduced yourself? And how do you interact with the community itself? I mean, like you don't have to interact like you have to be there all the time or say whatever all the time, but at least like once in a week or once in every 2 weeks, you can like help welcoming new people, or you can answer things that you understand, and that's fine. It doesn't mean that because you're new that you cannot be like interact right away, like to answering questions that you think that you can answer.
Mhm.
So I think that is one of the steps of being in the community to get the most out of the community. And then after a while, you start to know some people, right? Like for example, if you welcoming new member, me being a new member, if someone say hi to me, I would want to be friend with that person.
Of course.
Right? Because I feel so welcome. And that person like giving me just a hi, welcome to our community. It makes me feel so warm. So I will know that person. I will remember that person, right? I want to be friends with that person. And from simple, tiny steps, and you can start to make friends. And that's why that's one of the things that I love about community, and especially community like Virtual Coffee where I'm in. Also women who code. Um, I see that whenever people say hi, and everyone's just like hi back, like
Yeah.
it's very warm. And yeah, I really love that sphere, of the community, and that's how you make friends actually
Yeah,
in the
absolutely.
community.
Realizing that people who have joined because they want to be in community. They where
Yeah,
people are trying. And yeah, I like that you're
yeah,
saying just put yourself out there, even if it's just an introduction, even if it's just to say,
yes,
"Hey, I'm new here and I'm
yeah,
gonna lurk."
yeah,
Those kind of things. I think that's great. And you're right. I know for myself, when I do have the courage to put something out there and then it gets a thank you emoji or a wave emoji or something
yes,
that can really kind of brighten your day, just that little bit
mhm,
of a response. So I agree with you.
exactly, yeah,
For the self-taught developer who's getting started or wants to get started, you kind of talked about finding your passion, what area you're interested, or if not passion, maybe a strategic choice where there's an area of demand or need, finding courses that you can follow, like free code camp, or you said you did Udemy as well. Finding communities, right? I talked about sort of a regional one. You talked about kind of a situational one. It could be based on your stack or your join women who code, right? If you're lots of local chapters, global chapters, sort of stack area, technology area chapters, all sorts of different areas to join for women who code. And then put yourself out there a little bit, right? Take that leap. Introduce yourself, ask a question, don't be scared. You'd be surprised how people will answer.
Sometimes, I mean, like I experienced this myself because like Udemy, for example, like the courses on Udemy, they also have like Discord channels for their students, right? And I was like really, really new. I was like in the beginning of learning of CSS, and I asked something about CSS, and no one answered. Why? Because the students, the community were so big, so whenever someone posts something like in a few seconds, it's just buried, and probably no one will answer.
Okay.
And the first time I got an answer was like the next, I don't know, maybe the next or whatever questions, and I got like, hey bro, have you Googled it? And I was like,
oh, not helpful. Yeah.
No. And I already got like like not confident enough to ask. And my first question weren't answered. And then the next question were answered that way. And that made me feel like, okay, if I have question, I don't dare to ask, like maybe my question were like so newbie or like so stupid. And actually, like, there is no stupid question.
Absolutely.
Everyone was a newbie in the beginning, right? No, nothing. So I encourage people to, just shoot, just ask the question. Because there is no such a stupid question.
Agreed. I totally agree. And you kind of touched on something that I wanted to talk about is sometimes a community you find might not feel like the right fit.
Yes.
And there's this risk, and I heard you say it, that we internalize that and we say, oh, I joined this group and it's not working, or they haven't been very kind. There must be something wrong with me. Instead of what I hope we would do, which is say, this is not the right place for me. Maybe.
No.
Maybe. Or maybe I need to try to change this place or something else, but not to internalize that rejection or negative response, whatever it might be, and go, there are many communities out there, more than we can even count.
Yes.
And so, maybe you kind of talked about this, but how to find that right fit. I think it's possible there could be too many communities. You could join too many, and then there just becomes kind of noise. So how did you find the right fits for you? Or how did you decide, this is good people here. This is a good fit.
I'm actually in a bunch of communities.
You're in a bunch. Okay.
Yes. So but there are only like some that I really interact and finally like volunteering or like really getting engaged in the community. That's when I feel that the community is right for me, when I feel that warmth of welcome, like for example in Women Who Code, also in Virtual Coffee, even though I was a newbie and still a newbie, uh, people don't see me that way.
Sure.
People really supporting each other, and anytime you ask for help or anything, um they will be there. And I also feel like whenever I want to support back, that's when I feel like this is the right community for me.
Great.
And first is the welcoming, and then the second is the like the support. you can see, if you knew that, you can see how people interact, how people, like, um, how do you say, not just support, but like treating each other, right? From there, you can get that sense of, is this the community that I want to be in? Because to be honest, if the community is like the first one, when I got that, hey bro, I left in
Yeah.
heartbeat,
Yeah.
right? Like, I already felt bad about myself because I didn't understand the concept, let alone that someone talked that way to me. I thought, well, if this the kind of the community that treat people, I don't want to be here.
Right.
So I just left. But I will stay for the community that has that warm welcome and supporting. If you're a lurker, you can see from how they interact.
Exactly.
As
Yeah.
simple as that. And then you can try to, for example, ask a simple question. I don't know about the community itself or about some concept that you don't understand. And if people jump in to try to help you, and then you know that you're in the right community, right?
Yeah, I think it's great. And
Yeah.
I think there's a little bit of the golden rule in there, sort of be
Mm.
the community member that you would want to be,
Yes.
by like give what you would like to receive. Hopefully that
Yeah.
is a good rule to follow as well. And I also think that I haven't done this myself, but I imagine it's also possible to kind of start your own community if
Yes.
thing that you really like I am a cross country skier with a toddler who likes classical music and I only want to
Mm.
code with other people like that.
Yeah.
Maybe
Is
that's
there
too
any iced coffee lover?
exactly. But it's true. It's almost, like a dating app in a strange way. Like you can
Yes.
find your fit if you kind of put it out there too. But
Yeah,
I think
exactly.
another option is to make the community that you want and see. And if it's too narrow, you
Mhm.
might just be you and me, Ayu. But
Oh yeah, why not?
why not? That'd be a
Let's do
fantastic.
it.
Yeah, that's true. So I think that's great. Well, I was lurking on your website and your blogs and found one of your, I think, award-winning blogs about burnout.
Oh
Um,
yeah.
and so I'm hoping that you can talk a little bit about burnout and stamina for the self-taught developer. Just any thoughts you want to share about that?
Yes. So I had a burnout, not just one, actually so many times. But one was the big one, that when I finally like wrote that blog about the burnout. Because at that time I really wanted to quit everything, just quit the learning, quit everything. Like because I got so so burnout that I didn't even want to, like look at code at all. Like usually if I got burnout and then I take like 1 or 2 days, of break, and then I would be okay. Or just procrastinate it. And that would be fine. But at the time, anything I tried didn't work. I even took vacation for a week. Didn't work. Like uh that was so miserable. And the reason why I got the burnout was that, well, you can also write in my blog, but just to touch a little bit, that I try to rush things out.
Mm.
As especially if you learn by yourself, you don't have that path. Like say that you follow a course. Um, maybe I don't know. I don't know how you do in the boot camp, but maybe like for example, you learn this concept and you get like 1 week to do that, right? And for self thought, say that I already understand that in 1 or 2 days, I want to add more.
Sure.
Yeah. So when I add more and more and more and more, and then I get stuck. But I already have this, like fast pace of learning. I don't want to, like slowing my pace, because then I thought, I don't want to lose this momentum. I need to go on and push myself. But actually, I didn't really notice that sign of frustration,
Hmm.
that I didn't understand one concept, but because I want to go more, okay, I will get back to this tomorrow or the day after tomorrow. So I just go and go and go. But then because I didn't understand this one, and I didn't realize that this one is the missing part.
Mm. Yeah.
if you know what I mean.
I know what you mean. Yeah.
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 So and finally when I got that frustration, because then finally I started to doubt myself and think that I know nothing and I couldn't go further. I thought, okay, this is the end. And yeah, so it was so hard. And I don't understand what you mean by the stamina.
The energy that you need to keep going, the energy that you need to persevere,
Mm,
to get
mm,
back.
yeah.
Yeah. And you were
Yeah,
actually
except
talking
mhm,
about it because you talked about the pace, right? How
yes.
fast you're
Hmm.
learning. So, some people have said to me in the past, you may have heard this, that learning how to code is a marathon, not a sprint.
Yes.
Yeah. So, right, we've heard that
Yes.
before. And so
Uh-huh.
I think that's kind of what you're talking about, that you just kind of go at 100% and
Uh-huh.
then you can't anymore because your brain just
Yeah.
is overloaded,
Yeah.
or you were going so fast that you missed a step. That's kind of what you talked
Hmm.
about,
Yeah.
and you didn't even
Yeah.
realize it. And so
Yeah.
this idea that it's a marathon, a longer kind of
Exactly.
paced event, that if
Hmm.
that's kind of what you're getting at.
Yeah. 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 And what I did was I wanted to do the sprint, because like most of my friends who started like in the same start, with me, they already got a job,
Ah, I see.
right? And then or if they didn't get a job, they already like far ahead. And I thought like, why? Like I can't get faster than this. But what I forgot was that I didn't have much as they have at that time. Like maybe they could like learn for 4 until 8 hours a day. I only had 1 to 2 hours. So what do you expect? you know? But I started to compare myself with people. And it's hard. It's hard because you always compare yourself with others. But actually, the best thing is compare yourselves with your previous self. Like compare yourself today with who you were yesterday. Right. And that's what got me the burnout, because like I in one point I just got stuck because of these things, like trying to get faster, did the sprint and not the marathon, and comparing myself to others, and that was actually burned me out.
So what helped you get a little bit unstuck, you're saying, is that awareness, that realization that your journey couldn't
Yes.
look like theirs. It simply
Mhm.
could not look like theirs, and it should
Yes.
not look like theirs, and it needed to
Yes.
look like yours. And that brings me to one of my other favorite blog posts of yours. And if anyone's listening and you want to go to adiati.com and check out her fabulous tech blogs, I want to say it right. I think it was a letter to a future me. Was
Yes.
it that one? Yes.
Mhm.
So I'll let you talk about it, but I thought it was fabulous. So Ayu, can you tell us a little bit about a letter to a future me? Because that's what you were just talking about.
Okay, I kind of forgot, but anyway, I think that I wrote that because I wanted to remind my future me about the struggle that I had during my learning. So I wrote that as like a reminder. Hey, are you in the future? You know what we did at this point of time. You thought that you were you doubted yourself, and then you thought that you didn't know anything. You thought that you couldn't go on, but here were your like your achievements. Like you did blog posts, and then it got into the top 7 of dev, or it got into the top of hash node and things like that. So I list all the achievement that I had at that time to remind the future self, if that this journey, you made it this far, because but you had these obstacles, and you go through it.
It's a practice I think we all should do. It was, I don't know if it was a year-long retrospective. I think you wrote it in 2021, and it was saying,
Yes.
hey, look, here are all the hard things, here are all the great
Yeah.
things.
Yeah.
I have it up because I was reading it, but I love this part. These are all beyond my expectation, all of these accomplishments, right? That
Yes.
that
Yes.
I did in the past year.
Yeah.
Beyond our past dream. I only
Yeah.
know to do what I can as best as possible, and I will continue to do that for my future self, for you.
Yeah.
I hope you will smile when you're reading this, as I am right now while writing this, which makes me
Yeah.
smile too.
Oh,
I
thank
love
you.
I want to do this now because I want that ability to go back and go, oh, right. Remember when we really had that hard
Yeah.
time? Remember there were some good times too, especially in
Yeah.
parenting, because
Mhm.
parenting, I think parents should do this too. Because parenting, like programming and coding, has its
Mhm.
challenges. It has its ups and downs.
Exactly, exactly.
So
Oh
that's a
yeah, I think that's also in that blog as well. I told about my mom, my past mom. Yeah. So before I found community, I told my mom that I learned to code, and no one supported me at that time besides my mom. She said, "I don't know what you're doing, but I know that you will be be great in it." So I thought, okay. And she was like, how's your learning? Like every day she called me because she lived in Indonesia. So every day she called me like, so what are you learning today? And oh yeah, I learned about this. And she was like, oh okay. I was like, do you understand? No.
she's the mama rubber duck. I love it. Mama rubber
Yes.
duck. Yes, that's great.
Yeah. So when she passed away, it's like my whole world crumbling down because like I lost that support system in every aspect of my life, especially in the coding wise. And I didn't have energy to, like go on. I paused my learning for almost 6 months. I thought I will not pick it up. I thought. Uh, but then I remembered her and like how she supported me, and she said like you'll be great, you'll do great, you just keep continue what you're doing, and you will be there whatever your goal is. So I remember that I know that I still want to do it. I just didn't have the energy and I didn't have that support. But remembering that, it's like that's my support, like for all time, you know, like I'm doing this for me because she believed in me and because I wanted to do this. And I know if she's still here, she would keep continue to support me in any way. So yeah,
What a
it was a
beautiful.
hard time, but also like my, the rising me, and that's the reason why I finally like ranting on the tweet and
Yeah, I
yeah.
think that's such a gift that she gave to you, and that you in turn are giving to others as well. How beautiful, and what a way to honor her and her legacy, to sort of be
Thank
turning
you.
that to others and supporting others in community, and the example that you're showing to your daughter, right? Yes.
Yes, yes, yes,
Yes.
girl.
Who is seeing her own mother kind of learn and grow and struggle and then succeed and try again in this very iterative, very human way. I think that's all a legacy from your mom. How beautiful that is.
Yeah.
Say that, Ayu. I wanted to tap in a little bit to that role of mother,
Mhm,
and just ask if you have any advice specifically for other moms of young children, or moms of
mhm,
any age, who want to become developers. I know I've met with a lot, because that's a
mhm.
vibe that I put out into the community. I am willing to talk to you. So do you have any particular advice for other moms?
Well, learning with kids is really tough, right? But sometimes you have to sacrifice something. For example, you cannot make your house always clean, right? Because you have to make that time to learn, and maybe you only have like a little time to clean up, or I don't know. But as long as you have that support, actually that's doable. And like when I started to learn with my 2-year old, she was always on my lap, right? And except during the nap time. And that's the reason why I try to squeeze time here and there. And even though just a little bit time, I think it's still doable every day. Just cook for half hour, 1 hour. That's enough, you know. But also, like, don't be too hard on yourself, because we're mom first, right? We're mom first, and then we still have to do the house chores and stuff. So don't be too hard on yourself. Like, why I'm so slow? You're not slow. It's just that that's the time that you have, and it's fine, you know. Um, so yeah, if I have that advice for other moms, it's like, just continue your dream, find a support system, find a community that can support you as well, like to give you that motivation, that accountability, uh, and you'll be fine, and you'll be there.
Right. Yep. Your journey might not look like everyone else's, but it's
No,
yours,
no,
and it's okay that way.
no one have the same journey. No one, I think. Like, they have their own struggles. They just don't talk about it.
Mm. I love what you said about having a little bit of a messy house, because I can relate to that. And the
You
joke
haven't
in
seen mine.
our family, we joke in our family that our house
Yeah.
is designed to help other people feel better about their houses when they come to visit.
Oh yeah.
But that's the gift that we are
I
giving
think
them.
I think that I should say as well about my household.
We are generously allowing you to feel better about your house when you come to our house. Well, Ayu, I think we've answered most of the questions that I have, but I do want to know, you had this letter to the future you. So let's talk
Mhm,
about future you. What do
mhm.
you see for yourself in the next few years, yourself or your communities or both? What are your goals, your hopes? What do you want to see down the road for you?
Yeah, so my goals, of course, like to land a job in tech. Well, as you know, that tech is now a little bit, with the inflation and stuff. But I think that it's not just tech. I think it's everywhere. So that is one of my goals, to land a job in tech, but also like to grow myself as a developer. I'm still learning and always be learning, and I will not stop learning. And as for the community, well, I really want to be more. I already involved in some community, but I really want to, like, giving more to the community, because I feel like I got tremendous support from the communities that, especially communities that I'm in, and I really want to, like, give that support to other people as well. That's what I'm seeing myself, like, in, I don't know, 5-10 years from now, that I still can be able to support other people, especially self-taught and a newbie, because I know that it's hard for a newbie, and especially self-taught. And I just want to, I don't know how, but I will try to support with anything I can.
Thank you. Thank you for thinking about others in that way, and for sharing so generously of your time and your talent and your wisdom with us today. I feel
Thank you so much,
inspired.
Noel.
It was a great conversation. Thanks for joining us on the Women Who Code podcast.
Thank you for having me. See you.